the Zoom. How are you, Durgadas?
Oh, good. I try not to be in meetings, but you, you reached out to me, and I was like, "Here, come into this meeting." So
Yeah. Like we are not how should we say it? Like we shouldn't be the ones in handling the scheduling part. uh, yeah, but doing great, doing great. Let's go because um hi Letty.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. How
Yeah,
are you? Last time I heard from you, you were like, stop
yeah,
philosophizing.
it seems like ages. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good,
But
good.
okay, cool, cool. So, maybe if you have time, I don't want to take too much time, Durgadas, but just a couple of minutes also to update maybe Letty. So it seems like we have couple of interesting frameworks that we can try and contextualize with respect to token economies, decision making, participatory decisions, but then the difficulties of decision making per se. It doesn't have to do anything with token engineering, but any decision you have to make, design, software, and so on and so forth. Shall I participate or not? All of these are plain old decisions, and there are a lot of many frameworks. And I think what will happen after those three, now this is the second framework we're looking into, and I think we have two more or so lined up. And what we do is in these smaller groups where really people who are really interested into making this happen and synthesize, figure out how we can contextualize and extract something that really is practical for token economies. And this whole synthesis work, right? Once we are through, then we can come together and say, okay, what can we use from which side for what decisions, and really, try to map things out in a practical manner, and then basically offer, as the working group Omega, offer those sessions by the people who provided those decision makings and who updated, who update those frameworks to be more adapted to our context. And that would be really a nice offering to the community of participants and active token engineers. So that is an outcome that is pretty clear, and where, for example, Manu also offered to help with scheduling and everything. So that's that. And with the library, it's still become also very concrete. And if you like, we could also make a working session with respect to that, but I didn't want to impose it on anyone, knowing that schedules are tough and so on. So that's basically a rough update.
So when you say the library, you mean the, is that in the link?
Yeah, so that's the basically token engineering, this crypto economics flower with these many dimensions, and basically the knowledge, curated materials from those different petals, and the curation process. I think last time we put it all together, it made really sense, and also was quite clear how we could proceed. And also there is interest in metagame, for example, because they want to have a meta library. And we might basically curate the token engineering section, some things like that. Letty, I thought were very exciting also for you, because both of you are also metagamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that can be like the path to take, because we have talked a lot about it, but maybe the blockers we had is like we couldn't create this implementation to work for more contributors. So I guess like having these incentives and putting in place a framework for people to come in, I don't know if it's like this game cards or having the created list in Keros, or making a framework that is bigger, and then we can have the contributors put in their piece of work. But yeah, like
cool.
Putting that into place.
Okay, but we can have a separate session on that, definitely, and we should.
Yeah, we can make like first like all the like a design for make this practical. As much as we can make it practical or in clear terms, and then proceeding from there, maybe we can just have like this brainstorming for the path to continue.
So a design session, a smaller one. Perfect. Okay,
and maybe we can just connect this to the dashboard for people to be okay. We are doing this, and if you have this role into the dashboard, we can hear just connecting the dots between all the proposals we are making into this library.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah, it's in the T-consilience proposal. So maybe you are looking for the framework. Durgadas is there like written up?
Yeah,
where is it?
One second, I'm looking. Consilience project. It's called Consilience. The Consilience project. It's the second initiative.
So I should look.
So here, and I can also.
Yeah, I think you made edits, right? So, sister, you made another document, or was that in the main one, right?
Yeah, it is in the main one.
Yeah. Okay.
And also we have a summary in one of the in the agenda from our meeting agendas. We have a good summary there. Again, I can link that as well, Durgadas.
Yeah, because there is like in the agenda, there's like a write up of like a practical theme that maybe is not in the proposal in the main document.
Agree.
I'm talking from memory, but it's like
you're right. That was quite put together. 1 second. I will find that and share the link again here.
So
proposal.
I'm just looking in psychology and decision science.
Perfect
stuff. I do. So I'm looking at this, and what do you want to say? All the cool colors, I guess. Seem like my thing more. And then maybe operations and management science stuff, but as a sort of
then basically what I will do, let's figure out the design session time that would also work for Durgadas, for example, and basically, join, and we basically say, okay, who is creating what, and it can totally start from this group, right? We just start to fill it, but the whole, why is there this top 5, and the incentives for keeping that list really connected, making connections to other parts of literature, that's something we should be incentivizing.
But do have a little bit of a unifying thing that you've probably seen before. Can I show you?
Yes, go ahead. It's your session.
I made you the host, so you're gonna have to make me the host again.
Okay, I make you host back. Multiple participants can share. Try this. Can you share now?
Okay, so let's see. So this thing, I think you've never seen before. And the reason why I was bringing it up is because it seems like something that would be interpenetrative in terms of, because you were mentioning curation before, but I was just thinking that I know that what we're talking about is having different groups, but I was also thinking that if we made sure that we ticked boxes as we went around, you know, that it might be helpful. Like, you know, so I don't know if that makes sense.
I think like this is more process side. Maybe you can put it as, I don't know, because this is the synthesis of many models that you made, right? And added basically your perspective. And it is definitely on the petal of decision.
Yeah.
Psychology, decision.
Right.
Is it called decision science, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But the library should be more less. This is what I, what I produce, but more like what, for example, what of those sources that you found in literature, because it's a library, have influenced, for example, this. And please do share this, because this is your, and that's what I value. I think that will be also the value attribute, if you like, is the explanation, the annotation of the curator. Why have you chosen those 5 in how do you call it, in psychology and decision science? Because it helped you to come up with this framework, right? And this is the framework we're currently testing in Graviton and Omega, etc. So I think those annotations of the library will be big parts of value attributes of the library, right?
Yeah, I think that's like the one of the most important things, maybe, because we are just condensing the actual process that the contributor is making for those decisions. So we are curating also the thinking of the person implementing this. And if we expand this, it's like we can create frameworks to build a library that is bigger, even or extracting the annotations from the contributors, like having these spin-offs of the main themes or disciplines. So I see this like we can curate. For example, if we use the incentives for CRERS, it would be like only a mere list of how to say it, like approved, or just with this game design, like this is the list that is implemented in the community, because these are trusted people, and this is like a trusted list of sources or links or tokens or articles. But then we can have the other, I'm thinking of the design session mainly. What are the expected outcomes? And we can have like this library that is created with markdowns, and you have the contributors, which are more the curators, but also the authors of the specific disciplines that can be connected in these libraries. So we can create like multiple hitchhikers, token engineers, books, mini books in each discipline as well. And maybe put that into place as well with the other creation work. So like having this specific token that is list creative, and then we can have these libraries that expand from markdowns, which are the specific annotations of the authors. And this can be like the meta game within the specific, the flower or the consilience project.
Can I ask a question
like 2 or 3 things? Yeah. Go ahead.
So when I look at this cryptocurrency flower, so like, okay, so I don't mean to nitpick, but if I'm talking about management science and governance are really related to each other, right? And then political science and operations research seem to be much more related to each other than operations and management seem to be related to each other, and political science and governance are related to each other. At the same time, the philosophy and psychology are also extremely overlapped. Do you know what I mean? And so like there's a psychology, and then a refinement of psychology is philosophy, and a refinement of philosophy is ethics and decision science, and so I just, it's a little bit of an odd grouping in terms of like what's related to what, for me. So I apologize if I'm,
No. Do you see the screen right now?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So sorry. So this is.
All right. Yeah.
You are right. Like this is just again one random, but the best pick that we had. It's like a consensus that emerged in the seminal paper Crypto Economics Foundation, and the one consensus was yes. Many other disciplines have been thinking about resource allocation, right? All of these disciplines are about how do you make decisions, how do you allocate resources, right? But they come from many different angles. And one thing is also what if I may say, criticize or want to go beyond is saying, well, and the academia is really incentivized to keep those silos. There is no interdisciplinary conferences, journals, and so on. And if they are niche. So no professor out there has a real incentive with respect to their career and funding and what have you to actually bring this together. So
that's literally my only interest.
Exactly.
It's the only thing I'm interested in.
And this is also finding unity in diversity. I'm citing you there. So I think we're fine. Again, it's a starting point, and I think we will keep each other in check and have fun with it. Like, are we creating just another map / trap? Right? Or are we actually synthesizing to a higher quality of knowledge? Or I don't know how, don't want to use adjectives. But one thing that has been already brought up, and again, we also agree, and not many in token engineering might agree yet, is that this crypto economics flower is still very academic. And in Token Engineering Commons, we had a lot of people coming in and saying, I am participating, I am reading self-sovereign or sovereign individual. And all of these changes are happening that is not reflected even in this flower, but in this call, finding unity and diversity, acknowledging that if you would just look into academics and libraries and just cite experts, we would be trapped in that. And that's why the whole curation concept, it doesn't look like, hey, Durgadas, what's your degree in psychology and decision science? How are you allowed to talk? No, the best thing, literally, listen, that's amazing. Imagine when we started talking about ethics and philosophy, there were people telling me to, to take it slow because I haven't studied philosophy, and I'm like, come on, I'm a human being, I have a brain, and I'm damn curious. And the problem is because people have stopped questioning, people have stopped asking, people have stopped figuring out what is it that makes them act. So and this is something sorry.
My suggestion was going to be that we would just swap operations research and economics and game theory for each other. If you do that, then you would have a those 4 petals and then the other 4 petals, and that would make a lot more sense to me in terms of
why? Because of management science, because the current logic of this, and I don't think anyone really intended it, but maybe, is to the left, like economics, philosophy, political science, psychology, these are all actual humanities. They are very little to no computerization, and not the way that we have it in control theory, optimization, industrial engineering, operations research is pure data science. It's amazing what's going on in there and so on. So that's one thing that made sense, but totally agree. But again, the goal is go beyond even this flower at the end of our journey, which
well, I could
doesn't
really
have an end.
I could really see taking this stuff and put it into Wilbur's quadrants, right? That would make a heck of a lot more sense to me. So, I mean, can I show you something?
Yes,
I think that's the bridge
session.
we are trying to build, because we just started from this crypto flower, and then we get upside to
for sure.
Ken Wilbur. So we are trying to build a bridge to have the intermediate steps. So I think we are creating this framework for the middle work.
Oh, that's great. So, geez, I'm waiting for. I'm having a heck of a time lately with just opening my files here. So I'll show you this to start with. So one of the things that I kind of started with was that there were the I, the leadership, guidance, employee development. So it seems to me that that we may want to just take that flower and see what parts of that make sense in terms of the I. And then what I've tried to do is to say, like, if I'm talking about management science or whatever, that might be the boundary between, the individual leader and the individual people who are participating and the culture and customs. So do you follow me? So
I have a suggestion. Because the flower already comes from this academic side, let's just put it in the library.
Yeah, we
let's
need
just
that.
put it in the library, but it's also in the back of our hand. No, please keep this.
Okay.
Let's go through your your favorite frameworks.
Oh, sorry.
So, well, for example, this with the four quadrants is also one that we have on the table. And I'm game with jumping between this and the Cynefin even. No problem there. I hope it's. I know Letty handles that super well as well. Septimus. I don't know. We are jumping a bit around, but it's basically really about seeing patterns, and that happens nicely if we actually can switch between frameworks. So this I, we, it, and it does fit perfectly when you are trying to make sense of a token economy. I participate, right? I participate. I have a view why I'm motivated. I have a view what is rewarding for me. Literally, rewards can be very different. Can be acknowledgement and so on and so forth, right? Then.
Well, see, the thing is that the reward would be at the end here, in the result. So, your participation with the group, then with the system, then would result in something. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And then it would.
That circle, if you go around in spiral, then, but also helps me to understand the I better.
Like, right. Exactly.
Why did I feel rewarded? Why did I feel unseen? Right? Because I didn't fit in this culture, or I fit in this culture, but the systems that we set up, the it's right. In our sense, like computer-aided governance and so on. Because they didn't pick up all of this that I and the we agreed upon, but the tools in the system didn't pick it up, right? And what is it? It's the object of my.
The it's is what you were just talking about, the systems, the projects, the the laws, the politics. And so as I was reading some of that stuff, I could hear the underlying quadrant parts. Do you know what I mean?
What is the it body of results? You say objective outcomes. Is the I and the it? Is it subjective, objective?
Yeah, I can show you the larger thing. I'm having just some real trouble opening. There we go. So if we look at If we look at this, right? So if for example, and I've kind of moved this in the sense that if I'm starting with childhood development, I would start in the it, because there's a lot, there's a lot that's an overlay in terms of, like, I have autism, so there's a kind of difference between my brain and someone else's. And so then then I would progress to then the creation of the individual consciousness. But if I'm talking about participation in a DAO, I make an assumption that I'm an adult with self-consciousness and intentions and, different things. And so then so when I'm talking about where I start my narrative is when I'm talking about companies, I always start in this top left corner, and then I say the relationship then becomes the boundary between these two things is my participation in the cultural worldview, the intersubjective. And it seems to me that when we're talking about the Omega Group, it's this right here. It's this quadrant here that we're primarily dealing with, and we're also trying to see all of the rest of it, right?
Yeah. So and mostly, I think, but maybe that's my perspective, it's more it's than the we. But right. I think that's more my perspective. I don't know how the others
I think it's easier for our eyes to develop or to see the it's, and in the process we are trying to acknowledge the we.
Because we
encapsulate from the I and analyzing the it's, and then we have the we.
Yeah. So when we started with frameworks, for example, right? That's not that just says, okay,
that's exactly
let's look, right? But we
Well,
but again,
you can go counterclockwise too. So if you're saying, there's a broken social system, so if we've got a broken social system and we want to recreate a different social system, what that's going to do is impose a different culture, worldview, morality, ethics upon, the we, and then it's going to then impose other things upon. So then that's the framework preceding the data, if you know what I'm saying. But if I'm talking in Cynefin terms, so if I'm going the other way, right, what I'm basically trying to do is I'm trying to assume that person has a individual consciousness, which then they're going to struggle to connect to the we, and then that we has also certain systems it's going to set up. I think what we're saying as a token engineering commons is there's a bunch of its that are broken. Let's focus on them, right? But then in order to do that, we actually have had to modify our culture worldview.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
And in order to do that, like, when I met you, you were like, oh my God, there's all then this individual stuff that I had to think about, in order to understand the change in the meaning and culture and worldview. So what I'm saying about our view on this is that I'm suggesting that we make sure we get that this is a complete system. Each thing, even if we're paying attention to the it's when we're talking, it has implications for the results that come out of, this objectively, or behaviorism and all these other things, as well as, so it has effects going in both counterclockwise and clockwise directions.
Yeah. So. And now I also see why you make the connection to the cryptoeconomics flower, because literally in this also some of the disciplines are mentioned, right?
Yes, exactly.
Physics, biology is part of decision making, psychology, decision science, as they're moving there. Political values, corporate culture, political science, governance. So I'm also making notes.
Yeah.
So I think what would be fun or exciting, interesting for people, because they would need to interact with this, right? If they had an exercise like, let's talk about these 4 quadrants and let's look at our cryptoeconomics flower, go and try to map, right?
Right.
And that
I think that's like a very good thing to do for people. in a live session, but maybe we also need this to be played or gamed asynchronously. So like the framework we put in place can work live for people to create and then to have all these posits or all these links and sources in the 4 quadrants, but then we have the ability to construct and build a map without them being active participants in this. So we have the output in the result. This is like curated, but then we have this, maybe we are envisioning like this Ken Wilber thing breaching the token engineering community, and then we have this specific output. And then you go through different phases like learning, curating, moderating, and with this trusted ability, and then we have the output. Like it's the markdown library, so the map created. Going
and also there's certain kinds of narrative things to consider when the I is meeting the we, right? Or the we is meeting the its, or the its is saying to the we that we have to modify it. Do you know what I mean?
It's like,
there's all this
milestones, and then there is a chaos, and then we go to the Cynefin, and then it's decided maybe organically, or it's a complete breakdown, and we start like again, or make our assumptions. Yeah, it's like the game itself, right? It is this chaos. We can come back to the complicated. No, we need some simple things. It's automated, and then we have to reappraise the system.
Wow.
I think it goes organically this way.
Wow.
Well, and the power in all of this is to be able to orient yourself in the narrative. And I think that it's just a thing that is super important.
With respect to narrative, do you think it could work out if we ask around to share a story? Like when you participated in a DAO or in Token Engineering Commons or anywhere you participated in those tokenized networks, right? Can you share a story that makes that maps to one of those quadrants? So
are you asking me to do that, or are you asking me to maybe ask have it when we're in the class? What I could probably do is have somebody tell the story, and then I would retell the story inside of this narrative framework, where a person could then understand how it is that that their particular participation maps to this 4 quadrant system.
Cool.
So
just the story sharing. Okay.
And then you can explore yourself in one of these quadrants, and you can go like in different directions, maybe into the specific reason thing. You are here, or maybe you're more interested in this, so you are creating this, but you can understand the whole picture.
Exactly.
And then, and I think when it goes like this, they just share one story, like, and then you would say, okay, from the I, it looks like this. From the it looks like this. From the we, it might be like this. And then maybe they are then adding the we side after hearing you, how you are saying, no, the we side was like this because they were in it, and so on. I think that would be really nice, interactive, and also help people to process, right?
Right. Yeah, it would be like a storytelling session.
Well, and I could say it in terms of NVC too, because one of my favorite quotes from Marshall Rosenberg is pretty much all we're ever really saying to each other is please or thank you. And you can actually take that entire thing and saying, okay, I, the consciousness, have something to learn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say please to the we, and say, please, there's something about the culture and worldview that you guys have that I don't have. And so I'd like to say please to you. And then what the we is sitting there with is all this meaning and morality and ethics and values, which maybe the I has not experienced and wants to experience. And so then the we is saying, okay, here's that information, for you. And through participation, which is between these two things, then that gradually becomes more of a part of your own I, right? Or it could be that, you know, the reason why we all get into cryptocurrency and why do all these number go at people exist? Well, it's because of this social system, which then imposes, you know, a thing upon everyone and imparts meaning to having a lot of money, and therefore you're going to get, you know, rewarded in certain ways, and you know, and so it's the boundary between the it's and the we, which is the incentivization, right?
Yeah,
and then it's so the social system is going to incentivize the I through the mechanism of the we.
Yeah.
And so it's just a cool thing to be able to see how those things, you know, work.
Love it. I wish we would have recorded
it. We got cut. Yeah, we then cut our priorities, and we have the whole model, and it's fantastic because we created this protocol inside the game.
Yeah.
So the thing is, because, you know, I really think people have difficulty with that clash. You know, most of the time, if you're in token engineering commons or even metagame, is pretty where the it's and the we, you know, are more in harmony. But then there are really token project, or if you just open up and share a token or offer a token, and that's permissionless, all sorts of it's and worldviews and assumptions are coming in, and it's amazing how much how much distrust there is. Literally, the developer is there doing their best, right? But then just some UI expression, and the UI is the only thing that the trader is seeing, for example. A wrong UI expression, which should be just reported as an issue, all of a sudden becomes a thing where the trader thinks, hey, this is a project doing market manipulation and wants to have doing rug pull, we as against them, and so on. So it's crazy. So if the culture, if the it doesn't help the culture to onboard or even maybe emerge organically, or if the it doesn't help to see at the very least that there are different worldviews existing in that community, then it's pure chaos and so on. And maybe from that we could really go, because also Letty mentioned it, from these stories that are now being mapped to this and becoming more clear that there are different dynamics, and there will always be, even if we have created a great culture, we're working together, technologically things could change dramatically, right? All of a sudden we're not using praise as we used to, but it's more source code and more structured, what have you. All of a sudden that new it can, you know, bring us
I think that's
down
the beauty of it, because we still have these dynamics in play, and we don't, as eyes, we don't want to discard them because they are in the red colors. So we still need these colors to understand what is in play in this whole picture. So like the output of the game, if we have to say it's like it's not a finite game, it's an infinite one, and we still see the value of the colors in play into these frameworks. So we still need to ascertain, okay, this is that these dynamics have a lot of power into the engineering part, and that's also information and data we need.
Well, and what's interesting about
we don't want to discard it. It's part of the whole quadrant and the whole King Wilbur thing.
What's interesting about the example that you just gave is a kind of an iceberg example. So I've got an eye which has shadow, which is interacting with the result of an entire system of working, right? Sometimes it's a software developer interacting with a DAO, which creates a system that ends up resulting in a mistake or a incomplete understanding or the shadow of the developer is carried through this entire process and ends up on the page. But what the eye can't see is the we and the it's, which went through that. So it's like this line is almost like the I is connecting with the it, but it doesn't necessarily automatically or culturally, or we don't educate anybody to go, oh, I'm starting with the I, and at the inevitable result of this thing at the it level must be a culture and a worldview, or we just automate that entire process to make assumptions about the broken social system and make an assumption about the culture and worldview when in fact it was just a thing a guy forgot or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so what I'm basically, my job, the reason why I create all these narratives and the thing that I'm interested in is about making sure that in nonviolent terms, people don't do that automated thing where they jump, so often we do this thing where we think that the entire thing is just this, right? And then everything else is hidden from us. And I think we have a base assumption, because we've lived in an extractive culture for so long, that we make a lot of assumptions about what's going on here without ever really knowing or participating or any of that,
Yes.
And
Like
so,
we have come. Sorry.
No, go.
It's like on autopilot, being on autopilot.
Right.
This is exactly what it's like plugging from the matrix or being plugged from this pods, literally.
Yeah.
That's how it feels when you first realize, okay, I was thinking I'm rational, I was thinking well educated and everything, but I was only acting on the exterior. I was only thinking my brain, my behaviors are a combination between the rewards, the social system, and then also like my nature and nurture, right? And basically then there was this economics environment marks, or more like I don't know, our narratives or my narratives were more like you can, I think we were hearing from our parents, like you can make it from dishwasher to millionaire, right? My narratives was like, okay, you build an app, you build a fantastic technological solution, and you can just retire with 30 and decide what good can you do after that for the world, but first you make it. So, but then literally no interior whatsoever. Right? It's amazing.
Well, you could flip this around and almost say that the it is the clear in the Cynefin. The it is the expert or the complicated. The we is the because we live in such a shadow way. The we is the complex, right? And then the chaos is our individual selves, because we've been basically ignored by our culture. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody teaches us. I mean, think about it. After about what, 5th or 6th grade, did anyone ever ask you whether you cared or that you liked anything having to do with your entire education? Honestly, you could have a PhD and probably since the 5th grade, not one person ever cared about anything on this side of the picture.
Seriously.
So,
the thing is, I remember that was one of those very first signals. I was running from one project to the next meeting and so on and so forth. And I had on my agenda, today I need to look into SourceGrid, and I joined their community call in Discord. And LVS, I don't know her real name, but LVS was there moderating or hosting or, doing her community thing. And literally the first thing that goes around is like, hi, Sebnem. How do you feel today? And I was so struck. I'm like, you were the first person I don't remember the last time someone asked me that question so sincerely.
Yeah.
And that was in a Discord server. So